All right, it is Figgie and the Moose here on this Tuesday, right here on Pix 11 Plus. Good morning, Figgie. How you doing, man? Staying cool?
No, not at all. No. It's not been a. Listen, I will take this over 30 degrees and below any day, so you won't hear me complain. But it's not the ideal.
No, it is. It's very, very warm. So everyone out there,
could you imagine this? Could you imagine this and you going around Disney?
No, I think it was like very similar, but it was like thicker, yeah, it was like a more humid heat. It was very like instant sweat. Like
it was like you're breathing through a straw the whole time.
Yeah, like the ice in the iced coffee like melted within like 10 minutes, and it's like watered down. It doesn't taste the same. It tastes kind of
and then and that only pisses you off more.
Yeah, then you need the caffeine, but it lost all the taste, right? It's all gone because it's all watered down because they loaded up with ice. Anyway, yes, that's what we're in. So make sure to stay safe. Just be careful when you go outside and make sure to hydrate. Drink a lot of water.
Hydrate.
Yes. Mr. G, we're talking about during the course of the weather broadcast or forecast right here on Pix 11. It is Marc Malusis, Nelson Figueroa, Figgie and the Moose right here on Pix 11 Plus. Make sure to check out Sports Nation nightly, each and every night, 7 p.m. sharp, where we talk all things New York sports. Go outside the New York variety as well at times, too, when there's a big national storyline going on. And right now, as we are not even in the dog days of August yet, we haven't even hit the All-Star break as of yet. Both the Mets and the Yankees, who kind of had it their own way for the first 2+ months of this MLB regular season, Figgy, have kind of hit the skids. I mean, the Yankees won 2 or 3 against Baltimore over the weekend. Didn't look particularly good last night and losing to the Cincinnati Reds, giving up home runs. The one offensive output, as you would expect, was a solo blast, number 99, Aaron Judge. And for the Mets, they lose again to the Atlanta Braves. Acuna celebrating as he's rounding the base pass. It doesn't bother me. It's a different day and age. We can get into that in a little bit, but they win the game 3-2. The big moment, first and third, 2 out, Dylan Lee on the mound, the Braves closer against Juan Soto, and what was a tremendous battle. I think it was 9, 10, maybe 11 pitches, slider after slider, showing that 97-mile-an-hour fastball. And he gets Soto to swing over the top of one of his sliders, which was not necessarily down in not necessarily down the dirt, but outside the strike zone. He gets it. The Mets lose 3-2. The Braves have now won 4 straight against the Mets. Let's start there with the Mets. How concerned are you, or what are you most concerned about here with the New York Mets?
Well, I'm most concerned about is you're playing on offense. The other team has 9 and you have 4. There's just 4 batters that have done any kind of productivity for this lineup on the regular. And have they done it all together on the regular? We haven't seen a lot of that. We saw the flash in Philadelphia, what they're capable of doing, get the 7 home runs. Field day, one of those little league games, as Jazz Chisholm likes to say. Those come few and far between. But when you on a day in and day out basis, the at-bats have to be better. They have to be more productive. Jeff McNeil's at-bat is a symbol of what's wrong with this team. When he came up in the 9th inning yesterday against a left-handed pitcher, half swing at the bottom of the zone at that same slider that Soto swung and missed, and he barely makes contact and rolls out an easy ground ball on the first pitch of the at-bat. That can't happen, especially in a 9th inning situation. You've got to grind out an at-bat right there, try and get yourself on, and then maybe somebody runs into one, and now it's you have a walk-off win. Too many times we're seeing that. We know he wants to be aggressive. I don't have a problem with people being aggressive early in the count if you make hard contact. That's the goal of being aggressive early in the count. And if you're looking for a pitch and you get it, for some reason you're looking for a slider below your knees and you get it, then you got to hammer that ball. That's got to be a line drive out where the second baseman is checking his hand, like you hit it so damn hard. But we're not seeing a lot of that in the bottom of the lineup. When it comes to productivity with guys, runners in scoring position, all year long, man. All year long, this team has not found a way to get the job done. Just to think how good this team would have looked out the chute if they have done more damage with runners in scoring position, especially a guy by the name of Juan Soto. Like, the number that matters to me is not his salary and what they're paying this man. What matters to me is that with runners in scoring position, he's batting $143 on the season. 1-4-3. That's something along the lines of a pitcher would have with runners in scoring position, you would expect. When Not a guy like Juan Soto. When with nobody on, Moose, he's 338. I mean,
it shows you that he's pressing a little bit. No, terrible.
Absolutely.
But fair point about Soto. But last night, the Mets left, 4 guys and runners, and 4 left on base, right? The Braves, conversely speaking, I think left 11. The Braves were 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position. The Mets were 0 for 2. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the Mets lineup last night was 0 for 18. They had 6 hits as a team. They had 1 walk, right? The top 3 in the batting order was 4 of 11, right? And then you look at Brett Beatty, finished with 2 hits on the night, right? That was it. Like, this is not a matter of like where Schwellenbach was working in and out of trouble all night long for the Atlanta Braves. He was not. I mean, but that's – and even Mendoza talked about it after the game as well, that they need more from the bottom part of that lineup, that they're not getting enough, right? They've sent Alvarez down. They sent Acuna down, right? They've made moves for this team. Let's be honest. Tyrone Taylor made another wonderful catch last night going from the left center field gap to the right center field gap. He's a great defensive player. He really is. Not an everyday outfielder. I mean, he just can't hit. I mean, but it's not just him. Like, that's, you could deal with Tyrone Taylor if there were other guys in that lineup doing their job. They're not getting enough. I mean, I'm sorry, they're not getting enough from McNeil. They're not getting enough from other guys in that lineup, because you can't have a lineup, and we talked about this before the start of the season, where, 4 guys in the lineup are relatively easy outs. Like that just can't work. You're not going to be a good offense, because you know what? Then starting pitching, all they have to be concerned about is top 3 or 4 guys in that lineup. Once they get through that, then you're looking at easy innings. Like you talked about last night when we right after that game ended, during the course of the news, we did a quick Sports Nation Nightly for 10, 12 minutes, Figgy, is that, they didn't make Schwellenbach work last night.
No, not at all. We looked up in the 5th inning because the game was flying by. We kept saying that, right? We're watching the broadcast. We're like, oh, what inning is this? This is already the 5th inning. Wow. And Schwellenbach had 54 pitches through 5. Like, that's not work. That's light work. That's the ideal. When you think about an immaculate inning is 9 pitches an inning, right? And you get it to 9 pitches an inning for 5 innings is 45. He was basically 2 pitches more than an immaculate inning every inning. We saw some innings he went and had a 7-pitch inning. I think it was in the 2nd inning. After getting past the 1, 2, and 3 in the lineup. Those are the kinds of things where you've got to, especially when it's a hot night out, you've got to make a guy pitch. You got to make a guy work. And was he unhittable stuff? No, not at all. He had, I think, 2 strikeouts on the night, if that, maybe only 1. And what he was extremely efficient of pounding the strike zone, getting ahead and staying ahead, and putting these guys in defensive at-bats where they're just making contact and not striking out, right? You go back to the dugout, you get a pat on the butt. Hey, nice job, way to not strike out. But other than that, nothing is happening on the base pass. Nobody is rattling this guy's cage a little bit, or he doesn't seem at all bothered. It seemed like he was kind of throwing a bullpen session, and he had live batters standing in there, but they weren't really posing any threat. And he's done that to the Mets every single time he's pitched, except for 1. I think in Atlanta was the first time that they had gotten some for some runs, and they hit some home runs off him. Tyrone Taylor being one of them, where, like I said, you can run into a home run every now and then. But it's everybody else in the lineup, how they go out there, how they tax the pitcher, how they make him grind out in that bat, how they make it, where he has to use all his pitches. He doesn't just go out there and throw you 3 fastballs, all over the strike zone, and you make late contact with one and pop up. So I think more and more the at-bats have to get better. I mean, if you're not, I remember as a pitcher, Howard Johnson was my hitting coach, and I went up to him and I'm like, hey, what's this guy's 2-strike pitch? And he looked at me and he's like, don't worry about it. He goes, what I want you to do is foul off 8 pitches to this dugout. Be late and foul off 8 pitches to the dugout. Run up his pitch count so that when the Jose Reyes comes up, he gets a cookie to hit and he can do something with it. I don't worry. He's not worried about me, but I was a pitcher. But the idea has got to be the same. Like when you get to 2 strikes, baseball isn't that anymore. Baseball's like, so I'll swing and miss because I took a hard swing just in case I did run into it with 2 strikes, and you strike out on the 3rd pitch, and now it was a 3-pitch at bat. Those are the kinds of the bats that we have to see much, much fewer.
No, and then you get to which you mentioned before, right? And I'm more concerned about the offense than anything else. I mean, Frankie Montas, I don't know what you're going to get from tonight against the Atlanta Braves. Spencer Strider is going for the Atlanta Braves. We saw him, the Mets made him work down in Atlanta. It was still a winning start for the Atlanta Braves. Yep. Still, he's a guy that can throw a high volume amount of pitches early on in the game. where he gets likes to nibble and loses the strike.
He likes to go for the strikeout.
Right.
He loves to go for the strikeout. That's
right.
it.
So that's the way Spencer Strider. So we'll see exactly. It's obviously going to be ungodly warm today in the tri-state area, and it's still going to be very, very warm tonight when the game gets going. As far as Soto goes, it's a fair point about Soto. Like, and the argument to be made where, when you bring up the fact that he's hitting 143 with runners in scoring position on the season, saying, well, he's not getting much help. Well, he didn't have much help last year with the Yankees, right? When it was Soto and Judge.
Now, nobody in front of him.
The difference is he was hitting in front of Aaron Judge, which, Steve Cohen even admitted during the negotiation process is, he could offer him all the money. The one thing the Mets he could not offer was Aaron Judge, right? And I'm not trying to offend Pete Alonso. It's not really a knock. He's not Aaron Judge, right? And in terms of an offensive player, he's really good. Has had a really good year. We're all happy for Alonso. So, it's time for Soto to put the big boy pants. And when you have an at-bat last night and this team is scuffling along offensively, and you're up against their closer, and you're a guy that has a keen eye and has an understanding of a great strike zone and be able to work walks and do everything. I'm sorry, as Hernandez talked about, instead of going from, trying to swing for the fences, you become a hitter. You got to find a way to drive in that run to tie the game up at 3. I mean, you just do. I'm not looking for a home run. You don't have to hit second deck in right field. I'm not even looking for a double. Find a way to get on base. Find a way to seeing eye single. It all works for Juan Soto, but they're going to need him. That's why you're getting paid the big money, is that when you have the lineup scuffling along the way that it is, you're one of the key cogs to that lineup, and you have a situation in a big moment, bottom of the 8th inning, you got to come through.
Yeah, he's leading the major leagues in grounding into double plays as well. He's got 14 right now. 14 as of right now. Last year with the Yankees, he had 10 the whole season. What you're seeing is a guy, like you said, pressing, trying to do too much, winding up rolling over a pitch that he probably should think about more hitting the other way, which you saw his power to left center field. That 370 gap to left center field should be his best friend at this point in time. And that's where, Soto's at his best, where he's seeing the ball travel a little bit deeper and able to hit the ball as hard as a right-handed hitter can hit it to left field. And, that's why he's such a special player. We've seen that time and time again. I said it before. He's got 17 home runs. 14 of them are of the solo variety. All right. And so that leads you to believe that, and while his numbers are trending in the right direction, his batting average is trending in the right direction, they're meaningless hits when they don't have an RBI hung from them, right? We're looking for the Soto moment. Last night was the Soto moment where we saw him fail the first game of the season against Josh Hader and Houston. And you were thinking, okay, this is the get back, right? Against Atlanta, at home, crowd going crazy, the purple sky, the sunset in the background. This is going to be the Juan Soto moment that we're expecting. And he only got one fastball in the 97-mile-an-hour variety. He got fed nothing but sliders. And credit to Mr. Dylan Lee, he had a slider with different shapes to it, right? Not a one-trick pony, not it's going to go across the strike zone. One of them had a little bit more downward tilt than the last one. He took a little bit more off. And when I say take a little bit more off, it's not the velo. You might see it went from 89 to 88, but it had more downward movement out in front of the plate. And getting Juan Soto to chase is not an easy task, but Juan Soto expanded his zone, trying to live up to the big moment, trying to pull that ball in the right center field gap and get that double to give the Mets the 4-3 lead. Wasn't able to do it, but you know what? We continue to say, he's such a fantastic player that we've seen this in his young career. He's only 26 years old. He will continue to get better from this, and hopefully the moment will be when they need it the most, not necessarily in June.
We'll come back. We'll get into a little Yankees, talk about some other things as well. It's Figgie and the Moose on this Tuesday right here on Pix 11 Plus. Welcome back to Figgie and the Moose. Marc Malusis, Nelson Figueroa with you on this Tuesday edition right here on Pix 11 Plus. And we kicked off the program today, Figgie, talk a little bit about the Mets as they fall to the Atlanta Braves 3-2 last night out in Queens. As far as the Yankees, they're out in Cincinnati to take on the Reds, and they lose to the Reds 6-1. And for the Yankees, I mean, they were just terrible and had opportunities. Left 9 on base, 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position. The one run they scored was a Judge home run. Lifeless offensively when you look at it. We were talking about during the course of the game, it's a place that's very, very easy to go out there and hit home runs. It's a hot night in Cincinnati. As you know, as a former pitcher, when it's warmer, the ball travels a lot farther than when it does cold. So, but the Yankees, unfortunately, when you look at it, and it's kind of similar in nature to what we saw last year without Soto. When you look at this team, it's a lot of Judge. Last year was a lot of Judge and Soto. Not great on the base pass. Struggles defensively. The starting rotation shows a little bit of leakiness outside of Max Fried. And I'll give Rodon credit. He's been really, really good. It's great to get Luke Weaver back into the bullpen, but similar kind of characteristics to the team a year ago we're seeing with the team this year. Unfortunately for this year, they don't have, the top, one of the top 5 hitters in the entire sport. He's now in Queens. He's no longer in the Bronx.
Yeah. Just case in point, you have behind Judge, right? He had the one home run, and it was early to kind of set the tone. And you're thinking, okay, this is going to be another one of those nights where the Yankees, can be the Bronx Bombers. And on a hot night in Cincinnati, I know for a fact from pitching on that mound, they have alleyways. The way that the stadium is built, there's these air vents that go the left center field and right center field, and the ball absolutely flies in that ballpark. Now, get to Stanton, who had been hitting pretty well since coming off the IL. We've liked what we've seen from him thus far. Last night was the Stanton of old: 3 strikeouts, 4 at bats. Jazz Chisholm, 3 strikeouts and 4 at bats below him. So then you have Anthony Volpe, 2 strikeouts and 4 at bats. You've got 8 strikeouts and 12 at bats from the next 3 hitters after Aaron Judge. That is something that is a recipe for disaster. Obviously, it's not something that they're trying to do, but that just tells you that mentality when you have a hot night like that in Cincinnati. And we saw a home run fly out already from Aaron Judge. Well, I'm going for it too, because I'm probably going to run into one. Well, they did not, and they were pitched to and pitched well with a barrage of breaking balls, chasing out of the strike zone, then being beat by fastballs. So credit to the Cincinnati Reds pitching staff for dominating those 3 guys. But it's just more of the same. You get a couple of hits here in the bottom. Nothing that you can hang your hat on in the bottom of that lineup where you say, okay,
lineup's lifeless. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Chisholm.
Well, here's the thing with Chisholm, right? So Chisholm comes back from the injury and he's batting 350 something, and everybody's talking about, how the Yankees love the slow heartbeat, and they're like, just give us 70%. You tell a ball player, just give you 70%. When it works, he's the coolest guy in the ballpark. Man, this guy's pace is at 70%. We told him to dial it back. Don't try so hard. And when it works, you're like, yeah, see, look, it's a beautiful thing. When he strikes out 3 out of 4 times, and you're like, dude, I mean, are you even trying? It turns very quickly, especially with the New York media. You're like, come on. How do you go from, I'm just playing little league baseball back like in the backyard over here, especially when you're in Yankee Stadium, and then you come up in situations yesterday and continue to swing and miss and chase balls out of the zone and just miss pitches. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of just miss fouling balls back where you're right on it, but pitchers make adjustments, and good teams and good pitchers will do that. And, they lose the first one there in Cincinnati and got to find a way to bounce back.
Yeah, which I think they will. Listen, they lead the Tampa Bay Rays by 2 games in the American League East. They're going to go out there and be a playoff team. I think when you look at big picture, and it's just 1 game in Cincinnati, it's frustrating because they had opportunities, and the swings and the misses and the lack of situational hitting obviously bothers you as a Yankee fan. But you look at this group, they're not good enough to accomplish the goal that they want to accomplish, right? Which is to try and win a World Series. If that's the goal, they're good enough to be a playoff team. They're good enough to have playoff dates in October out in the Bronx. And, we'll be out there covering it for picks. There's no doubt. But are they good enough to go out there and win a World Series? Like if you put the Yankees up against, the Phillies in the World Series, or the Dodgers in the World Series, or the Mets when they're clicking on all cylinders in the World Series, they're going to win that series? Probably not. I mean, not as presently constituted. I don't think they are. And yes, they're going to need Judge to go out there and hit. That's the thing where, we've talked about it before, is that Brian Cashman and company have got to get to work before the MLB trade deadline and add to this group because I don't think this group and this team is good enough. I really don't. Listen, Chisholm offensively, you look at his stats and you look at the split, strange when you look at it, but As a second baseman, he's hitting like 171. As a third baseman, he's hitting like 335. So, you want to stick him at third, keep him at third because you're going to get better offensive production. That's fine. I think the team's a little bit better defensively with him manning second base than they are as a third when he's trying to learn that position instead of going out there and getting an everyday third baseman or a guy that's played that the entirety of his career, Figgy. I think the starting rotation needs improvement. I don't think there's any question about it. And I think they've got holes. Like we talk about Anthony Volpe. We spent a lot of time yesterday talking about Francisco Alvarez. What is Anthony Volpe? I mean, he's a major leaguer. Like he deserves to be up at the big club. Is he ever going to live up to the expectations of what the Yankees thought he was going to be? I mean, there were some that thought he was going to be Derek Jeter 2.0. Is that Anthony Volpe? I mean, listen, Jeter was 6'3". Volpe's about 5'10". I'm not even talking about the physical characteristics. I'm talking about the impact of the player, right? Is he ever going to be that caliber of player? I have a hard time envisioning he's ever going to come close to the player that Derek Jeter was as a shortstop for the Yankees.
Well, that's a not easy comparison or anything to live up to, especially when you don the pinstripes, right? Anybody who goes to play that position, it's like anybody who's a closer for the Yankees. You got to live up to Mariano. So those are lofty goals that will never be attained. You're talking about a guy over 3,000 hits at the big league level.
Yeah, right.
But hopefully Volpe gets his 3,000th at bat without being sent out, traded, or DFA. So I think one of the things with Anthony Volpe is he had success early, right? He had success early, won a Gold Glove, and hit 20 home runs, and you're like, okay, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Similar to Alvarez, where you can see why they were prospects in the minor leagues. You can see why they stood above the rest. But here's the thing. 5% of the people who get drafted make it to the major leagues. That's the fact. And that means of the people that they think have the talent and the ability, 5% of them make it to the major leagues for whatever reasons or not. But that pool is like a triangle of players, right? There's a big pool at the bottom, and it gets narrower and narrower as you get up because now it becomes deciphering who can actually do it for a long time at the big leagues. The big leagues isn't about just putting up guys for, a week, because they had a good season, so they put them up there for a week. I played with a lot of guys who batted over 300 in the outfield and never saw the light of day at the big league level because they felt that they peaked and this is where they were supposed to be. And you have to field the team at AA and AAA. So you have other players around your prospects, the guys that you are trying to push up to the major league level. Anthony Volpe was on the fast track when it came to that, the similar way that George Lombard is. And if you tell me you don't think that Anthony Volpe has that a little bit in the back of his head as well, that there's a kid knocking on his door that was a first round selection who has offensive ability, who has the defensive prowess, whose dad was a former major leaguer, who they would love to give an opportunity to. So if Anthony Volpe has a hangnail and sits out and goes on the IL and you see George Lombard come up there and he hits the ground running, like those little things start to factor in. I think he's comfortable right now, but is he ever going to be that player of Derek Jeter caliber? Absolutely not.
Well, and I think the Yankees, unfortunately, look at it and say Lombard could be our future third baseman. We're not going to go pursue Alex Bregman and give him a long-term deal because we've got Lombard, and short order, and he impressed in spring training. He's having a good minor. I haven't checked his stats in a week, but he's played pretty well down in the minors this season, I believe. But Lombard's a guy that the Yankees think very, very highly of. I think the aspect is that, it's a long MLB regular season. Mets scuffling along right now. Yankees scuffling along a little bit right now. I think the Yankees need improving, and I think the Mets are going to go out there and improve. But today, Figgy, it's going to be hot. So enjoy the AC. Enjoy the climate, the cool comfort shirts, right? The dry fit.
Dry wicking.
Right. It's primary day, and the sweat factor today is like a 15. Like immediately you walk outside, you start to perspire. Yeah,
it's one of those days. But as I said, I'd rather have that than treading through a snowstorm trying to get into work.
And I always am lucky where I always find the one individual that doesn't believe in deodorant. Like today's an extra couple swabs. Like today bring the deodorant with you. Like
right, reapply. It's like sunscreen.
No doubt.
It's like sunscreen. You should reapply at some point. If you're in the car, when you get out of the car before you head into work, just reapply, just in case. You just don't know.
Right.
You don't want to be that guy.
24-hour protection doesn't necessarily work for 100-degree days. That's it, right? And 24-hour protection doesn't necessarily work for 100-degree days.
Like medicine, you should reapply every 4 hours, right? Redose.
Right. When in doubt, reapply. That would be my advice for everyone in that. When in doubt,
a little tip from your Uncle Moose.
That's it. Anyway, everyone, enjoy all the baseball. Thanks for watching Figgie the Moose on this Tuesday on Pix 11 Plus. We'll see you on TV tonight at 7 p.m. Sports Nation Nightly. For Nelson Figueroa, I'm Marc Malusis. Have a wonderful Tuesday.